I might have just let me hit record. Oops.
Oh, it did let you?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, good deal.
So I don't know where it's recording to, but cool. Well, happy Thursday, everyone. Guess we'll go ahead and jump in. So if you don't know us, I think everyone on does, but if you're listening to us on podcast or YouTube, if you don't know us, we are coaching businesses for success. I am Sherry and I'm here with Megan today. You can join us if you don't know on YouTube and podcasts. So if you want to listen to us in the car, if you actually want to see faces and watch while you're watching TV, YouTube is the place to be there. On this call, just so you know a little bit about what to expect, we're open books. We give you the behind the scenes of our 6-figure bookkeeping businesses, what's working, what's not, what was working, what stopped working, and what's starting to work. So if there's anything you want to know there, that is what we discuss on this call, all things that help us do it better without going crazy. Q&A happens at the end of the call. We prioritize questions from our fast start bookkeepers. But if you have a question and you want to jump on and get an answer, feel free to do so. We'll invite you to unmute and turn on your camera and you can join us asking there. Megan is keeping track of the chat. So if you're chatting with us in YouTube, on Facebook, she will see those. If you want to jump in to ask your questions directly, feel free to click on the Zoom link and jump into this call. Teresa said this week, she goes, I have a huge shout out to Jara. So she's one of our coaches in the Bookkeeper Blueprint. She spent 2 hours with me today, helping me figure out an issue I was having with Spotify and income. She stayed up late with me and was super helpful and made me confident to file the sales tax return that has been looming over me. Jara, you are 1 in a million, and I am ever so grateful for you. So our coaches really do care about the success of your business. If you have questions, that is what we're here for. We're here for exactly things like this, things that you can't just Google. If you want to know about our upcoming events, so like this week, we had a free masterclass for anyone who wanted to join that. And it was on becoming a balanced bookkeeper, tips and tricks to be less crazy in your bookkeeping business, how to set boundaries, how to negotiate boundaries in your bookkeeping business, all of those things. You can scan this QR code and you'll get the link to that calendar. So that's on your calendar as they come up. We've got some other upcoming events at the end of May, so feel free to grab that. Today, we are talking about creating some chill in your bookkeeping business. So I'm really excited about that. Just continuing this theme of how do we do this? How do we keep our why in focus and just run a better, smoother operation? Sue's asked, where is the replay? Oh, she got, oh, never. Cool. Cool. If you still need that, let us know. Or if you want the replay, if anyone else is listening, put a comment out there and we'll make sure you get it. Okay. So Megan, this week we've been kind of talking about just like it. Yeah. So it's in the email. You can register. I'll drop the link right here. And you'll get the replay immediately to your email. So after you register, you'll get a quick email saying, hey, here's the link to go watch that replay. So I think you also might get a text if you put your text in, then, or like your phone in, I think you'd get a text too. So creating some chill, like I think sometimes we get into business and a lot of us are used to working really hard for an employer. We work really, really hard. I think I would classify most of the bookkeepers that are in the fast start as hard workers. You know, they would have showed up in their 9 to 5 and they would have worked hard until it was time for them to clock out. Often, if you're like me, you stayed late, you got there early, you made sure the job was done, regardless of the cost to your family. But our bookkeeping business is to get us away from that. And sometimes it's about working smarter and not harder. So we just wanted to pause on that and talk a little bit about that today. Megan, and you might be with a napping child. So. Okay, so what are some ways that we can create some chill into our bookkeeping business? I think automations are a really great way to start doing this. So if there's something
Yeah,
that you're
definitely.
touching, is there a way to touch it once? Is there a way to not touch it at all? So for instance, right now in my current setup, I might not keep the setup. I think I'm going to change it. But right now in my current setup, as soon as someone accepts an engagement letter, they get an email, welcome email, and they get taken to like a landing page that walks them through the onboarding. Also invites them to schedule an onboarding call. In addition to that, I have a Zap set up. So Zapier.com does some automations, and it creates a Google Drive for us, for the team. So based on the name of the business, it goes ahead and sets up the Google Drive. So as soon as that client signs, we already have a place to start dropping stuff. There's no need to click a button and actually set up a drive, which sounds so tiny, but it's already there. You don't have to recreate the wheel. And it was something we could touch once and we don't have to touch again. Those little things add up over time. So like saving the engagement letter, can you just have it auto save? Can you have an email sent to you from, so in QuickBooks, there's a lot of automations you can do in QuickBooks. So if you're doing sales receipts in QuickBooks, like I have an email, QuickBooks will send me if I have an unsent invoice. So like if we've created an invoice, like I just want to make sure that they go out. So like when I set up my business, I had really, really young kids. So under two under two, or two and under. Yeah, they might have been under two at that point. So I just didn't want to touch stuff as much, and I didn't want it to be reliant on my brain because my brain was kind of maxed out. And so I did set up some automations in QuickBooks, like send me an email if this happens, send me an email if that happens. And those things, I just get an email still today. Hey, you have an unsent invoice. Oh, really? What is that about? Like, and I just have to go look to see why we have this unsent invoice. And it could be I created an invoice for future work that it might be time to send. So QuickBooks is, you can automate. I just automated for one of my clients. They need a accounts receivable report. And guys, I really don't want to manually send invoices and accounts receivable reports. So I created an auto report to send out every 2 weeks on the 15th and like the 1st. They get an email, here's your AR report. I don't have to touch it. I don't have to think of it. They just get it. Now it doesn't include invoices. So I just told the client, hey, if you need the invoice, let me know at that point. But if not, like she can go into QuickBooks and pull the invoice, and I don't have to like put a calendar in, like reminder on my phone or my calendar. I don't have to create a task in Keeper. It just auto goes out. Sue says, can you automate moving funds within envelopes with QB checking? I'm not sure. I don't have a lot of clients that use QB checking. I think all of them have gotten away from it just because it's hard to get money timely. You might see if Bonnie was just talking, there is a way you can auto transfer it with like, I would see if you could set up like an auto transfer. So like to transfer funds, but that would be the QBO checking side of things. I'm not sure. That's a good question. And is this for you personally or for a client? Oh, for a client. So they're wanting to do like an automatic, if they're using like Profit First on the first of the month, move $100 to savings or something like that. I know you can do that with banks, so you might be able to do it. They might need to log into their actual portal for that, separate from the QB side. So there's like a login for the QBO like checking. They might, you might be able to get on a call with them to walk them through it. Sometimes it's just clicking buttons. Also, sometimes it's calling support, guys. Calling support, getting on demos for any software that you have is 100%. So like QB checking, that thing. So the cash and envelopes thing with QuickBooks is, you would have to do a support call. But an underutilized tip in the bookkeeping world is get on demos. If you have a client using a software that you're unfamiliar with, if you just signed up for a software, sometimes they'll have tutorials, but if you don't know something, go ahead and get on a demo because you might learn some really cool things that other people aren't talking about because other people aren't getting on demos. I know Keeper is really good with this. Sassant is good with this, or however you say that company name, SAAS, whatever, however you say them. They're really good at it. And sometimes problems can be solved really quickly, just asking a question or going to support. I have a client with a new platform to me. And we're working with support because we have to like backdate some things in their software. So support, demos, calling the helpline. And sometimes like QuickBooks, they're not that helpful. Sometimes it's getting the right person. So I know this has happened to me with both Gusto and QuickBooks within the past year, where I will call the person who doesn't know. It has no clue what I'm even talking about. Like I could be an alien to them. They don't know. Simply calling back that afternoon, calling the next day, you'll get another person. Sometimes just calling back directly, you'll get a different person. And I don't know how many times that person's been like, oh yeah, I got you. And whether I don't know if I've just said it differently or explained it better, or they just understood what I was saying. So don't feel bad about doing that. Okay, Megan, what other tips? So like automating, that comes through. Oh, so here's how I would start to do this. If you're like, I have no clue, because I've challenged Megan to do this a couple of times. I do this often. This is something I'm always doing, and I can tell you I always do it on oh yeah. Hey, for the IRS too, absolutely. I literally take paper and pen when I do this because there's something about just processing information, but I will write down sloppily just whatever process I'm working on, or bring dump my to-do list. Like, what do I have to do this week? Like, what are all the things I'm touching? Sometimes it's just seeing it on paper can tell me, oh, do I really need to touch that? Can one of my team members do it, or can I automate it? Then as you see that, you might be like, oh, I could cut that process out completely because I've actually got this and this other thing. This is a redundant step. I don't need it. Or, hey, this team member has it. I don't need to be doing this. We've got a fail stop here. So that's something to do. And I would just brain dump. What is your workflow? So how are you getting leads? In the Bookkeeper Blueprint, I actually show you how to do this and I start at marketing all the way to offboarding. So I go through the whole business cycle for you. I have a presentation. I have a document for you. So if you're looking, what does it look like start to finish? And I do start from lead to offboarding. So we get a lead. How do we nurture that lead? How do we get them to get on a sales call? Do we need to get them on a sales call? Can they just purchase? How do we want them to do that? If they sign the engagement letter, do they sign the engagement letter while I'm on the call with them? If they don't, then what? Do you send them an email? Do you go ahead and schedule, if you know that they're not going to sign on the sales call, do you go ahead and schedule that second call? That's what I do. Or like, what is your follow-up process? Because we'll get questions all the time from bookkeepers. Well, how far out? What is your follow-up sequence? This is where you figure out your follow-up sequence. So if yes, if no, do this. If yes, do this. From there, okay, so they sign the engagement letter. What happens then? When's the next time I'm going to talk to that person? Do they have everything they need? How do they get everything? So for me, they go to an onboarding page where I walk them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like, I don't think it's 5, 6, but like I walk them through, do this, do this, do this, then book a call with me. That way I already have like access to QuickBooks. They can be setting up their bank accounts and I can test them when we're on the onboarding call. Like I think through, because I also want to think through the consequences. If I get them on an onboarding call, but I don't have bank access, I feel like it's a wasted call because I can't get started still. So I want them to have everything in place before I get on that onboarding call with them. Because that onboarding call, I use it to be a recap of what the expectations are. So to set expectations and for me to troubleshoot anything that didn't work out. Because I've had people give me accounts and access, they've had to set the password, they give me the password and I can't log it still, like, and so while we're on that call, I can troubleshoot those things. Megan doesn't do onboarding calls, right? Megan, you don't do onboarding calls, like formal onboarding.
Yeah, correct. I do not. So I try to get as much information and stuff as I can when we're on the initial call, and then I'll just send an email out after when they tell me they're ready or whatever. Like here's everything I need and stuff. And then if we need to do a follow-up call, but usually that's good enough.
Yep. So just having yes, no situations. If then this, if not, then this. And we walk through the whole process. So now we've got their onboarding call. Now who does what on the team? Who's going to save documents? Who's updating? So I use Keeper. Who's updating Keeper? And walk through that. What does it look like to do deliverables? What day is it? The 10th, the 15th, the 20th, the 25th? When are you going to send those out? What do you need in order to do that? If you're doing accounts receivable or accounts payable, so bill payment or invoicing or bill payment to be consistent. What does that look like? And you can just start setting up processes for your entire firm. And what will happen is you might not have someone that you're sending invoices for, but you've already thought through your accounts receivable process. So when someone needs that, it's not panic mode. You can go confidently into the sales call and say, oh, this is what we do. We're going to find out your process. We're going to work with you. And this is typically what we do for our clients. And then we're going to bend you to that as much as possible, making it make sense for you too. Then deliverables go out. Does anything else need to happen? What about annual engagements? Do you have them sign a new engagement letter every year? How do you update pricing? Who does that? Can someone on your team do that? After that, what if a client wants a refund? What do? You can already have a process for that. What if a client wants to disengage? You can already have a process for that. What if I just don't want the client anymore? What if I need to disengage? Now you have a template. And all of these actually have templates in the Bookkeeper Blueprint. How cool is that? Like, you already have templates, you can just plug and play. So you can, even if you're using Gmail, how many of you are using Gmail? Feel free to post in the chat if you're using like Google Workspace. You can do this in Outlook too. Most email providers let you do this. You can set up templates. So then you just select the template and hit send. So you created the email once and you don't have to recreate it. You might have to update it for that client, like the client's name and the month or whatever, but it's already done for you. I do this in Keeper, so they already have some pre-filled templates. But if I send it once to a client, you better believe I am making it a template in Keeper. So like I've done this with sales tax, I've done this with payroll, I've done this with year end. Hey, here's what we're doing at year end. And then next year, I don't even have to think about it. All I have to do is open the new email, update it for anything that we've changed. You can also do this right now. If you did this year, go ahead and update it right now. Like next week, this weekend, if you have time, because you'll already be refreshed on what didn't work. And you can put a note at the top that says last updated May 2024. That way, when you go look at it in December, like December 1st to go send it out, you're like, oh, wait, did we include that last year? Did we not? And you can just put updated May 2024 and you'll know, okay, so I already made the changes I wanted to make last year. Let's reread it and just make sure it makes sense. Oh, actually, I'm not going to do this service or I'm going to need them earlier. I figured something else out, so I'm going to make that change. Now you're ready to go. And it takes you 15 minutes instead of 30 minutes trying to recall last year, saying what went wrong. I hated last year. I don't know what went wrong, but I hated it. And this is where, so we hear a lot of bookkeepers say, but I became a bookkeeper because I really like, in essence, clicking the buttons. I hear you. I hear you. It is so much nicer to hit buttons and be in your little zoned out little space instead of being interrupted and all those things. Like, it's a really nice place to be. It's really nice at the end of the night to just decompress. It's almost like playing a video game, coding transactions. I think it's really similar. You could do the same thing as you transition to the CEO of your business. At night, what can you go ahead and do as one to make 1% better for next week? 1% better for month end close. 1% better for quarter close. 1% better for year end close. And as you have a team working with you, you just check in every night. Normally when you would have done the bookkeeping, and you say, what can I make better for the team, for myself, for my clients? And then go to bed. You're going to get that same like game experience, except most games don't pay you. This pays you. So, but then just letting things go. I think the third thing I would say on creating some chill in your bookkeeping business is just letting things go. Not trying to do it all, not trying to offer everything. We talked about this on the masterclass a little bit. Speaking of which, if you want the replay, do let us know. We've got the link in the chat in Zoom, but if you need it wherever you're watching, just let us know and we'll get it to you. We went way in depth there too. So, but just not trying to do it all. Don't feel like you have to offer tax prep, tax strategy, tax planning. Don't feel like you have to pay every, like my clients, if they're going to make quarterly payments, they make them themselves. Their tax preparer can help them with that. You don't need a course and a book and a podcast and a YouTube channel and to be on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook and doing 3 reels a day this month. Megan's laughing because like, haven't we had that conversation recently? You don't need to start email marketing the same week you start, posting reels every day. So, and you don't have to do all of those things to market. I have like this side hobby, Megan, now of studying how their funnels work, how they're marketing, how fast they're growing, what platforms are they on? What are they doing unique on this platform that they're not doing on this one? And guys, sometimes we just think someone's doing it all and they've narrowed it down to doing 1, maybe 2 things. That's it. They've figured out, I'm going to do this content. I'm going to do this content well. And you better believe I'm sending an email list. It almost boils down to those 2 things. You can pick the content, whether it's posting on Facebook. Guys, there's a really good video on YouTube that says posting is not marketing. I think of that all the time. Just posting is not marketing your business. There's a little bit more to that. If you, Megan,
No,
you do post, but you do more than that.
Exactly. And I think that, and I know exactly what you mean and where you're coming from, because we hear that all the time. They're like, I'm posting 10 times a day on Facebook. Okay. But if you're posting 10 times a day to the same 50 friends you have on Facebook and your page is private and nobody's sharing it and all the things, of course you're not getting any traction. So yeah, totally. And then I also want to say, like, you're saying YouTube, like, you don't have to do all the things. Another way to, like, right now we're using Restream to be on Facebook, to be on YouTube at the same time. So like there's ways to do some of those multiple things at one time and make it easier too,
Yeah.
If you're trying. So if you feel like you need to be in both those places, do something like this,
Yeah. So Restream is what we're currently using here. We also I use StreamYard. It lets you do the same things. They're both really good. I don't know why we chose Restream over StreamYard when we chose Restream.
I don't know either.
For CB for us. I don't remember why. I like them both. They both do some really cool things. I do really like StreamYard. I feel like it's really easy to record in and to, I think we used Restream because of the streaming we were trying to do. StreamYard does a lot of the same things. It's more YouTubey, whereas we were trying to, we were more on Facebook. I think maybe it was the number of platforms that we want to be on. So we have a personal page connected. We have 2 groups connected. We have a business page connected. We have YouTube connected. And I think we have TikTok is being connected, Instagram. There's a couple of things.
It can,
So,
yeah, it can be. It's not right now, but yeah, it can be.
so then with TikTok, those shorts go to, well, you can do longer form at some point, but the concept is instead of creating 5 different reels to post on every different platform, you're going to use the same reel, right? The concept's the same. A long form video on YouTube is a long form video. Obviously, you can play the game. There are games to play. Every social media platform has their unique. We really want you to do this. We really are going to encourage this. We're going to push you out if you do this. But at the end of the day, we need to find one thing to do well. And then double down on that. The other things are supporting that. Does that make sense? Would you agree, Megan?
Yep, most definitely.
So we have the one thing that we do well. I won't say what that is, but if you are wondering what I'm thinking, I'll tell you. But we have one thing that we do well, and then everything else supports and funnels into that one thing we do well. And that's where that marketing workflow comes in, that business workflow. So it's all together. I have it in one document for you so that you can think through. Top of funnel all the way down to offboarding the client because you don't want the client wants to leave, whatever reason. But if we think about that, how do we streamline? How does this correlate to maybe reducing clients we offboard? How do we find better clients? So I was just talking to someone in the Bookkeeper Blueprint Pro, so Premier Pro, that we just launched. She's been in it since the beginning of this year, February or so. I was just talking to her about, because as you go in business, keep in mind, bookkeepers, you'll see bookkeepers who keep clients for 10 years. They've never had a single client, like they've never had to disengage. It doesn't necessarily mean a client hasn't just left because they shut their doors or something like that. But I do think some bookkeepers make a mistake of thinking, and I don't think this girl wasn't doing that, but I do think some bookkeepers make a mistake of thinking clients are just going to be there forever. You do the work once to get them onboarded and you'll just have them forever. Unfortunately, that's just not how business works. I promise you don't eat at the same fast food restaurant every time you go out to eat. Actually, you could, but it's not likely. You might have, 3 options. So over the course of 20 years in business, you might have 3 bookkeepers, and that's okay for a number of reasons. But with that, she just hit a bump where a client was closing their doors. Another client had just Q2 hit hard. So if you look at like the economy, Q2 was down, and it hit a couple of her business owners hard. And so we were talking about it. She was like, just feels like I need to be in a more stable industry. And as I started listening to the conversation and kind of analyzing the businesses, because she sent me like a list of, here's the businesses I have. It wasn't that she needed a more stable industry. I'm really convinced it's not that she needs a more stable industry. And she agreed when I told her, I think it's just the client she's attracting. So once I started out, I went through a funk. I called Megan. You guys have heard this story before. And said, Megan, no one's going to sign over. Like I just signed someone at $75. No one's signing over $97 a month, which was so far backwards from where I had been signing clients. And so I definitely creeped into a funk, wasn't doing a good job communicating what I do, and I just started Facebook marketing instead of just doing Upwork. And I wasn't really just marketing to my community. I was marketing to strangers in Facebook groups. I had gotten a shout out from a real estate person in her group, and it attracted some really tiny people. Not really my audience. So I set a rule, and it was like 3-3-3. They needed to at least have 3 tax returns under their belt. They needed to, so 3 years in business. They needed to, so at least 2 tax returns, but on their 3rd year of business. So it was 3 tax returns, 300,000 a year. And they needed to have 3 contractors or employees that they were paying actively. Because what I was finding was, if I was their first hire, which I totally think bookkeepers should be the first hire, but if I was their biggest bill every month. And for a business owner who also has money mindset blocks or issues, and they're trying really hard to grow their business, but they see your payment coming out and it's the biggest one out of everything they're paying for, I found that to be hard. I found that to be like a trigger to some of the small clients, like new clients, like, it's going to cost me how much? Well, you've got like 10 different platforms because you're a new business and you're not established, and you're jumping payment processors. You're trying to figure out where your business should be. And sometimes those are harder to work with because you have to keep up with the changing accounts and the commingling because they just started, and it's a lot of moving pieces. And if you don't have a strong business owner because they fell into it, it can be really hard to get the information. It can be frustrating for them. And so I just found, for lots of reasons, that wasn't a good fit for me right then in that season, because I had a lot going on myself. So like in that season now, I'm like, oh, great. You have a lot of moving parts. Fun for me. But like, it just wasn't a good fit then. So like, I had to get really clear on, okay, how do I get out of this funk? How do I start identifying better clients to serve? Now my client looks a lot different than the 3-3-3. There are some aspects that still are relevant. So they've been typically in business about 10 years. They do $1 million in business, and I am by far their cheapest employee, right? Like, it looks a lot different. Well, and I might be their cheapest employee, but I'm not the VA. Does that make sense? Like, it looks a lot different than it did 3 years ago. So just as because I get bookkeepers who do ask, like, well, how do I figure out how to break through that? And I had to get really clear, because I've thought about Megan a couple of times, like, how did I break through that funk? Because it was like, I called you. And actually, I think I was like crying on my birthday. I was really frustrated with my business. I was like, this is not what I wanted. And by January, I went to the extreme of like rebranding, because I wasn't connecting with the branding that I had done. I don't think you need to do that, but I did, and cleaned up some of my messaging, and then went to Facebook differently. And so I started using different terminology. I started better explaining, this is what I do. And I remember it was February to April, got a call from a friend, and she goes, is this what you do? Because this is what I just been up all night doing. And she had been getting all of her husband's bookkeeping together so that they could drive to the tax preparer and have him file their tax return. She's like, literally, she's in the passenger seat on the way to the tax preparer. And she's like, is this what you do? I never want to do this again. What is it going to cost? Now, getting out of the funk, I can tell you I undercharged her. I think they totally would have paid my normal rate. But I was like, oh, sure, I can just do it for, it was still way more than $97, but they're one of my smaller clients. And I'm just like, it's such a reminder to like how far I've come, that I'm like, please never leave me. I love your books, because it's like a humbling reminder of like, oh my gosh, look how far I've come from them. So I never want them to go away.
Definitely. I think like a lot of like all that's so important, like everything you said about that, because it does seem like we get, and like, I mean, I'm almost 5 years next month, actually, we'll be 5 years into my business. But so what, even over 5 years, like it still happens at times where it's like, oh, I can't sign clients, or it feels like I don't know what I'm doing with this particular industry, or you just you lose clients, like you said, with the economy the way it is right now. Businesses aren't doing good. Am I on the right path? Like, you just start second guessing for whatever reason. And I think this happens to all business owners, because I see it all the time with the business owners on Facebook and stuff posting, like, is this really that roller coaster that you always see, up and down? But I think it's so important to realize that you don't have to do things the same way all the time. Like, even the marketing, you said you rethought about how you were approaching Facebook. So how were you marketing that? Who were you marketing to? Like, all those things. I think a lot of times we get caught up in, like, these are the only clients that I can work with, or these are the only clients that would want me to work with them. But a lot of it is part of, how are you marketing? Who are you marketing to? So, like, it just is a matter of changing the way you word things, changing the platform you're marketing on, or the groups you're in, or whatever the case is. And one thing I try to do is, like, pay attention to, especially the clients that you enjoy working with, or the industries that seem like they're thriving right now, or whatever. What are their pain points? How can you word stuff on social media, or have conversations and get in front of more of these types of people and those types of things, for sure? Because we saw it with COVID. Even not every business closed the door. Some of them did really, really well at that time.
Some took off. I had a
Yeah.
business owner who started a business. He reached like 2 million because he capitalized on something totally legit. I don't think he I actually have no clue on the pricing of it. He came to me after 2 years after, but he started a business and thrived. So, like,
Yep.
industries are so funky and I love the fact that you said what industries are succeeding right now.
Yep.
Because just because, like, an Amazon seller did well in COVID because they happened to be selling, maybe they were selling supplements, maybe they were selling webcams or headphones, or all of the stuff that all of a sudden, and they were just poised for the opportunity. Sometimes I think we just need to poise ourselves for the opportunity, and we do that
Yep.
by utilizing things like Restream and being on multiple platforms and watching the market. Like, as you learn to market your business, you should be watching other industries, and you're going to find, and this has happened, I talk to Kyle about this all the time, and I really think this is where, like, you do need to be chill. Don't feel like you have to do everything, but keep in mind you are building a foundation for your business. And there have been times where I'm like, I will tell Kyle, an opportunity exists right now to do this one thing. If we have the bandwidth, we should do XYZ. Sometimes we haven't had the bandwidth.
Yeah.
And that opportunity is gone. However, I have seen every 6 months to 18 months, a new opportunity will come if you're watching for it. And I've seen them, and so many times I've seen them come and go, and I'm like, someone needs to do because either it's not my time, it's not my opportunity, it just doesn't make sense for us to jump into it. But you can see those opportunities. And I tell you, there's like 3 that I know of right now, like, that are kind of on the horizon of, like, they're either an opportunity right now or they're coming. And if you're positioned to step into them, and I think that's really important to just think about as you're marketing, like, who are you connecting with? Are you connecting with people? Maybe they're your competitors. So, like, are you connecting with, so we just had someone, she just, I think an email went out sharing her story. But Danny just did 47,000. She added 47,000 in annual revenue to her business in 60 days. Because she took an opportunity, she took a leap, she connected to 2 competitors, a bookkeeper who happens to be retiring, and another bookkeeper who's changing the way she's doing things. So she actually came onto Danny's team. And through their connections, she's blown up her business. She's set to triple her business probably in the next 30 days. So within 90 days. And she's not the first. I 4x'd my business in less than 120 days. You've done the same thing. I forget the count on yours, but yours.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact time frame or anything, but I mean, last year, probably January to March, it was more than doubled.
I think you doubled it.
Um,
Yeah. At
yeah,
least doubled it, if not
yeah,
more.
it might have been more than that. I don't remember the exact numbers right off the top of my head, but yeah, more than doubled. And it was just that short time frame, you know.
But it was
But
because you had been laying the foundation.
and
And there's
continuing, I
something
never
that
stopped.
happens around like 3 years where you've been laying the foundations and people have been watching you, even if they're not telling you that they're
Yep.
watching you. And so all of a sudden they understand what you do, because it takes how many times for someone to understand? It used to take 7. I think it takes like 21 times for someone to see, hear, touch you,
To even consider,
to even consider
like that doesn't mean
you
they're
as an option.
signing, consider. Yeah.
And that was really funny because this friend that called me is a close friend. Like, I would almost probably consider like she's on the best friend category, right? Like,
Right.
she was at my kid's birth. Like, she's best friend
Right.
material, but she had no clue what I was doing and no clue what I was up to. And so sometimes they have to start to understand you first.
Yep.
And when I shifted that year, it was messy. I didn't have like a perfectly worded, copy written plan. I'm not a copywriter. I'm really good at helping you guys write emails to your clients, but we brought Allie on to help you guys write your sales pages because I can kind of do it, but I can't do it for everyone. It's just, it either makes sense to me or I get a little lost. And I'm like, well, could it, and I can get fluffy. So Allie is your salesperson, copywriting person. I can help you write an email. And so noting that, like, I started trying to tell stories and I just started trying. And I remember getting a message too from another friend who was like, I love how you're showing up on social media. So pay attention to those things. Pay attention to what you're doing. It shouldn't look like what everyone else is doing. Yes, we have templates in the Bookkeeper Blueprint, and you can use those for ideas. Maybe you create a lead magnet around it. Maybe you tell a story with it. Maybe you do a poll with it. You don't always just have to copy and paste. You can, because it starts getting you traction. When in doubt, copy paste. I posted something last night in the chat that we have in the Fast Start program. So all the members are a part of a group chat. And it's a great place to get marketing ideas from for them. And so I just posted a link to, if you're stuck on marketing ideas, here's like, it was like a web page of just resources for them to use in their marketing that I had stumbled across that I was using for something. And I was like, oh, they need this. And sometimes just reposting someone else's content is really helpful. Sharing a story, getting someone angry at you. That's okay to do.
It gets traction. Yeah,
Did you
I
see?
think.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. What were you gonna say? Did I see what?
Did you see the post I made in the Bookkeeper Blueprint paid group to the members yesterday? The video. Let me tell you about it.
Okay.
We often hear bookkeepers say that they're just scared to post because, in essence, what will their friends and family think? What will so and so think? What will the person from high school that you haven't talked to in 15 years think?
Right.
And it was a collection of people like Denise DT, Caitlin, Kyle knows how to say her last name, Caitlin, and just a bunch of millionaire course creators, podcasters, things like that. And they literally just read through troll comments. Each one of them like shared a troll comment. Your voice is cringy. Your courses are too slow. And it just went through all of them. Denise was like, her troll comment was manifesting, she thought was for humans and not for animals, or something, like completely insulting Denise DT, what she's doing. But she's helped a lot of people get out of debt and increase their income. Like, and so you would be like, yeah, you wouldn't care about that. It can hurt, but I think being in part of a community can just remind you, no, that is a troll comment, and it really helps your engagement. So just
Yeah.
leave it up. Don't delete it. Just leave it up.
And I mean,
Just go.
business coach that we work with, want to, like, every once in a while, if somebody will say something, like, one of the things, okay, how many people out of how many people has said that, that she always says, so, and she's like, that's not bad numbers. So yeah, I mean, sometimes people, that's just people's personality a lot of times. And no matter what you did, they would not be happy with it or whatever, but it is hard. Hard a lot of times, but a lot of times, so we have two, Danny, you shared her story. We have somebody else who we were talking about as well this morning who shared a win. And we were talking about both these people. But like mindset wise and stuff, it took them, like, they didn't want to post on Facebook. They didn't want to go to in-person networking groups. Like, there was a lot of those things that they didn't want to do and didn't show up to do. Or they showed up and it was like, hey, I've been doing this for how long and I'm not getting any traction. I haven't signed any clients or whatever. But like, now their business is taken off because they have not given up. They kept pushing, kept trying to figure out what was their thing, what was going to work their way.
I have a YouTube video and we can wrap up. I have a YouTube video that says you need to spend 3 years, whatever it is that you've committed to, spend 3 years. Ironically, those two individuals are on year 2.
Yeah.
Now,
so imagine,
does it have to take that long? You at least left your full-time job within 4 months.
Right.
I replaced
Exactly.
$3,000 a month in 4 months. We have someone in the group who's now 6 months in. She's making $60,000 a year at least. I think she's over that. I think she's closer to 80 now. Right. So like, you can move faster if you want to move faster, but sometimes it's figuring out what we want. And that's where creating some chill in your bookkeeping business is so important. Do the 20% that gets results, let the other stuff go. Let the negative client comment go. Talk to us about it. Let the troll comment go. Don't be scared of the troll because they're not paying your bills.
Exactly.
But do hang in there. Don't give up, because I feel like a lot of people give up right before it takes off.
It takes off. Yeah.
You see that on YouTube, you see that on Facebook, you see that in coaching, you see that in businesses. Don't give up right before it takes off. And you won't know. You won't know if you were a day away from 3
Never
people
have
saying
any
yes. But then if it feels out of control, like if you feel like you're getting clients, that is where the Bookkeeper Blueprint Plus. So we just opened the doors to our premier program. So that is our highest level of working with me and Megan. So you get Voxer access, unlimited one-to-ones with all the coaches. So you can be on a one-to-one every day if you wanted and needed. And we've had people need to do that for a season. You don't have to be to get results, absolutely, but it's there for you if you need it. If you're dealing with a messy cleanup and you really need that time, that is there for you. We're doing an Amazon e-commerce training on May 10th. So if you get in before May 6th, which is when the doors close, you'll get access to that free training for the group. You obviously get access to all of the Bookkeeper Blueprint trainings, workshops, Upwork, cash versus accrual, real estate, property management. All of those trainings are there for you. We added a ton in this kind of re-release of the Bookkeeper Blueprint. You still get all the simulations, practice, if you're wanting to get better at QuickBooks, but then all of the updates QuickBooks just made, they're captured. So, and we're still capturing them as they come out. So there's still a few things that are coming out. So we're capturing all of those. If you want to either talk to us more about that, let us know. We'll get you the link to schedule. If you're looking for more information, I will post that link, but the doors do close May 6th. On that.
Sherry, Belita had a question, and I'm not sure what she was talking about, something you were saying. She said, what were the threes that Sherry used in her business? 3 tax returns, 300,000 a year in income, and the third one.
3 employees or contractors. They were paying 3 other people on a routine basis to do work for them. So I was like, not their like first hire, not that we're hires, but like, some sense.
Their first thing, yeah. I mean, even outsourcing,
Yeah.
the
So,
first
so
thing
they,
pay somebody
and you
for.
can see that when you go through their books. So.
Yep.
And some of that, can you bend? They're 250, they've got 3 hires, they've been 3 years in business. Fine. Like you can always bend. It was just helping me get clear on what groups was I actually looking for, where did I need to be, and how did I need to be communicating? Because identifying that allowed me to start thinking, well, what does that business owner need that this other person doesn't need?
Yep.
I don't need to talk about creating an LLC because my person already has an LLC. Maybe I need to talk about becoming an S corp at that point, because they might not have become an S corp by that point. Maybe I need to talk about wasting money on uncaptured expenses, right? Like it just changes. What does that person need? And when you start meeting them, especially in person or doing interviews with them, so scheduling just interviews, no pressure, no sales calls, no whatever. Just, I want to talk to business owners like you. Are you interested in a call? And just write down, what do they say about their bookkeeper? Oh, they don't give me timely reports. Okay. I can do a live on that. I can do a whole post series. I can do all of this, or like, why, maybe I could do a post on why your bookkeeper isn't getting you timely reports. Maybe it's your fault. And, ruffle some feathers with grace.
Yep.
But maybe it's their fault that they're not getting reports. Maybe you do a post why it might be your fault that you're not getting timely reports. If you guys use that one, let me know. Tag me if you use that one. I would love to see it. But so stuff like that was what I was thinking there.
Yeah.
So and that could be, that will change if they're at 600,000 or if they're at $1 million. And that's why it's really important. So we did a workshop, Megan, in September or October, called Your Ideal Client Workshop. If you guys need the link to that, let us know. But that has a whole workbook. That was a 3-day training on exactly how to create that avatar, how to name it, what you need to know about it. So if you guys need that link, let us know. But the Bookkeeper Blueprint, doors closed for the Premier Unlimited One-to-Ones, Voxer Access, May 6th. There is another onboarding call happening tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central. So if you get in today, you'll make it in time for that, and you can start diving in over the weekend.
Yep.
Absolutely. Anything else, Megan?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. Well, we will see you guys next week.
Yep.
I don't think I saw any questions. Did we?
No, we don't have any more or anything.
Okay. Cool.
Yep. All right.
I will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.